Hey there everyone, welcome back to Perfect Pairings and the first perfect pairing of 2026, where today we're blurring the line between paper crafting and fine confections. I'm sharing a decadent way to use your wax seals to dip die-cut treats into a glossy, realistic chocolate finish. Let's step into the kitchen and the craft room to assemble a gourmet dessert box card that looks good enough to eat. Before we jump into some newer crafting items, let's grab some well-loved dessert favorites. I'm using Sweet Treats layering die set, and I'll let Altenew do most of the color choice work for me. In the layering guide found on the die set packaging is a list of already determined cardstocks. I will use the cardstocks outlined for the three smallest and round confections. This chocolate chip cookie is first. From top layer to bottommost layer, I have green gold, milk chocolate, and paper bag. Then for the jam-filled shortbread cookie is sand dunes, heartbeat, then paper bag. Lastly, for the round butter cookie is paper bag, caramel toffee, then sun-kissed. Generally, all of these images have reference or anchor points that overlay each other nicely, so you'll just have to rotate your die cuts and you know when it fits properly. The only difference is in the shortbread jam-filled cookie, the heartbeat and paper bag layers are meant to be slightly offset so that it looks like a sandwich. You'll see that on the layering guide found on the die set packaging. Otherwise, once all of the layers are assembled, I'll place everything under an acrylic block to make sure that they're well adhered with liquid glue before adding some tasty details to these images. First up, some powdered sugar. I'm using a mini ink blending tool and cloud white pigment ink to randomly stipple this pigment ink onto the pastries. The nice thing about pigment ink is if you go overboard with sugar, you can just wipe it away. If only it was that easy in real life, but at least in the craft room, we can just smudge the pigment ink away to gently blend the ink. Then to get those beautiful amber edges to our treats, I'll use espresso, fresh dye ink, and another mini ink blending tool to add some shadows to all the layered die cuts. I'm applying this in a rough crescent and letting the mini ink blending tool do a lot of the texturing for me. This isn't meant to be a smooth blend after all. Then as an added element of shine, I'll use glossy accents to give the strawberry jam in the center of our shortbread pastry that appetizing shine and detail. I'll let the cloud white pigment ink and glossy accents details dry on my Petal Palette and move on to the other treats to add to this card. New for January 2026 is the Creative Cuts Strawberry Patch Layering Die Set. The Creative Cuts monthly subscription continues to be a hit, and I love how diverse these sets are getting. Like Sweet Treats Layering Die Set, I'll let Altenew do a lot of the color choice work for me again. In the layering guide and examples, I only cut the A1, A2, and A3 layers. I also cut the standalone strawberry leaf dies from the cardstocks outlined below this little flap here. So that's crimson for A1, ruby red for A2, and grassfield for A3. I cut these 3 layers 3 times for a total of 3 completed large strawberries. I also cut the base layers of the strawberry leaves from hunter green. In addition to these strawberry layers, I added 3 more A1 die cuts. This is the solid layer to the largest strawberry. I cut these from dark chocolate, milk chocolate, and vanilla cream for a dark milk and white chocolate variety of cuts. For now, we will just worry about the layers outlined on the die set packaging. So I placed A2 on top of A1. Then I used hunter green fresh dye ink and a micro blending brush and a mini ink blending tool to add deep details to the leaf and sepal die cuts. I did this all on top of my 9x12 sticky mat grid. Then I finished the normal assembly of the layers for the strawberries and leaves. Up next is the delicious detail to finish these strawberries. I'm really excited for this because it was purely a concept in my head, and I'm surprised it turned out as well as it did. Anyway, let's keep going and bring in those dark milk and white chocolate die cut A1 layers. With a pair of scissors, I want to create that chocolate dipped impression of these strawberries. So I'm cutting some irregular edges to the A1 chocolate layers. The best way I have found to make this look as real as possible is to make the irregular edges have narrow peaks and valleys instead of wide drip lines, if that makes sense. And make sure that as you dry fit these cut chocolate layers, that a little bit of the strawberry peeks out from underneath too. I did this for all 3 chocolate layers. Then with mini ink blending tools, I'll add some shading to the chocolate to give it that illusion of a sweet shine. For the white chocolate layer, I used Sand Dunes Fresh Dye ink, Espresso for the milk chocolate strawberry, and Jet Black for the dark chocolate strawberry. There is one last detail we will add to these strawberries. I'm excited for you to see this one. First, I'll need my silicone stamping mat to protect my filming surface. On top of this, I have a little tea light flame and the wax warmer set. Milky White wax is that perfect white chocolate white, and I have melted about half a spoonful of wax to first practice my white chocolate drizzle. Don't worry, once this cools, we can remelt it and it won't go to waste, so feel free to practice on your mat to get those thin piped lines. I found that the best way to get these thin lines on top of my strawberries is to over drizzle the wax beyond the boundaries of the strawberries. So you'll see I preferred the texture on the white chocolate covered strawberry over the dark chocolate, and that's all because I focused more on getting the wax in thin streams. Once the wax cools, you can simply cut the excess from the cardstock and again preserve those offcuts because you can use them again for future projects. Now that we have our little treats made, let's continue to build our dessert gift box scene. The next essential item I'll need is the nesting circles die set. I made this simple and you'll need the 7th die from the inside of these sets of circles. That circle is 1 3/4 inches in diameter. I cut 6 vellum circles to match our 6 completed treats. And to make these vellum circles look like glassine liners, I'll roughly fold these in half and half again, and then into estimated thirds. Then with a pair of scissors, I'll make some jagged cuts to the vellum edge for that characteristic pleated liner look. Once we have done that with all 6 vellum circles, then we can add our treats to a liner. For the chocolate dipped strawberries, I'll add one of the 3 leaves to help fill in the fluted liner. Then after gluing the strawberry to a leaf, I'll foam mount all of the treats to the vellum. This way the vellum still has some texture and stands up nicely on the card when it's all complete. Once each treat has a liner, I'll set it aside and work on the final element to this card. On an A2 panel of dark chocolate cardstock, I'll add some score lines. I'm using the Altenew Crafter's Essential Scoring Board and the bone folder, but I ended up reinforcing the lines with the ball end tool found in the scoring board drawer anyway. With the cardstock in portrait orientation, I'll add lines at 1/8, 2 inches, 2 1/8, 2 1/4, and 4 1/8. Then with the card in landscape orientation, I'll do this in 2 steps. I added a score line at 1/8, 1 3/4, 1 7/8, and 2 inches. Then I'll rotate the cardstock 180 degrees and repeat the score lines at 1/8, 1 3/4, 1 7/8, and 2 inches. This way I end up with a margin on my cardstock with 6 compartments corresponding to the 6 treats we just made. For a little added depth to the dessert box, I added some ink blending with jet black and a mini ink blending tool to create a shadow. I glued down all of the lined treats to a corresponding slot on my gift box and used the Petal Palette to add some weight as everything dried while I prepare my sentiment. The happy birthday banner from Pop It Up Blooming Hydrangea is the perfect little sentiment to nestle between my layers. I stamped this in Heartbeat Fresh Dye ink and cut out the little banner and foam mounted it on the bottom third of my dessert gift box. After adding this panel to a folded note card base, this calorie-free treat is ready to be delivered. Whether you're a paper crafter or just have a sweet tooth, I think we can all agree this project is a recipe for success. Don't forget to tag me and Altanu in your creations so that we can see what you're baking up in your craft room.